Hey party people. So I have Bell's palsy in my face, but they don't affect my hands, so let's make some stuff. Today I want to talk about moving darts or manipulating darts and princess seams so that with the information, the base knowledge that I give you today, you can make whatever style line you want on your garments. Okay, because the mechanics of moving darts and seams are going to be the same for a lot of different looks. Okay? First, I want to start by showing you a lot of darts. When we did our block, we put in a standard waist and bust dart. This is a very common, basic, and for women's wear. Menswear, the waist dart will be out a little bit towards the side seam. Typically no bust dart. I'm going to draw with this big fat dull pencil so that you can see on camera what I'm doing. But normally I would do all pattern work with a very nice fine mechanical pencil for accuracy. So here's my waist dart and here's my bust dart. And if you watch the blocking process, then you know the intersection of these two is the apex. And that is your dart pivot point and the top of the bust, the highest peak, okay? And when you make darts, they're all gonna point to the apex. So here, we have a dart here, and it starts from the bottom half of the side seam above the waist, and it goes towards the apex, and it can be here, it can be here. And that's your French dart. This is your armhole. We can have an armhole dart, and it can come high angle, low angle, whatever you think looks cool. And then again, it must go towards your apex. This is your shoulder line. And so you can have a dart coming in from the shoulder, again, pointing towards the apex. When you design a shoulder dart, the thing about that is you're connecting the shoulder seams front to back. And a shoulder seam at the back is a very common dart. And so you want to make sure you're really designing that space. You know, there's the back. You want either the darts to flow, for them to be angled right, or to go ahead and separate them entirely where this shoulder dart is like over here and the back shoulder dart is over here. So it's like a deliberate separation. You know, you don't want something where there's your neckline, there's your shoulder seam, and it kind of looks like this. Make it look nice is what I'm saying. Be deliberate and make it look beautiful. That's my green line with the double arrows. You can have a neck dart, again, pointing towards the apex. And you can, this is your bust dart. Some people call it a side bust dart because there is technically a center front bust dart. So here's your CF bust dart. There are a few more less common darts, okay? You can have a center front waist dart. And it starts right here. Okay, just so there's no confusion, the only thing I've drawn here are the sew lines, okay? Just for clarity and demo, okay? But you can start right at center front at the waist towards the apex, and that can be your center front waist dart. Some people like a center front neck dart, and here is your neckline, here is the center front, apex to that corner right there. And some people like that look. Go do your thing, center front, neck dart. And some people like one that goes right to the tip of the shoulder, right at the outer edge of the shoulder. And that's your shoulder tip dart. I'm going to show you the slash and spread method of how to move dart excess around to create new darts. Now, the thing is, when you're working on your patterns, you're supposed to use the black or pencil lines for self fabric. And you have to be careful about using colors because blue and purple are for contrast, green is for lining, and red is for interfacing. I'm going to use colors today only for clarification in demo so things look clear on camera. That's it. But you better keep your colors really like industry standard when you're working on your own patterns. All right? Deal? Okay. So here's what I have. This is my waist dart, and I have marked the legs. And there's my punch hole circled in red. And here is my side bust dart. So which dart should we do? Okay? Maybe we want a neck dart. This is your dart pivot point. And we're going to draw our dart legs using where the dart ends at the seam. You're going to redraw the line up to the pivot point. You can just do one side, it's fine. Cut along the sew line, right up to the pivot. Try to leave a tiny little piece so that they're all still connected, but it's not a huge deal if it gets separated. What we're going to end up doing is closing up some of these darts and opening this one to create a new dart. So it depends. It's like, oh, I want to keep my waist dart, I want to pinch in my side bust dart, and I want to open the neck dart. Or I want to keep all three darts, but I want all my darts to be smaller. You can do whatever you want, and then you're going to fit it on your fit model and then adjust according to the fit of your customer. But this is how you do all the darts, okay? So let's pretend I want to close up my side bust dart, and I want to open up my neck dart, and I want to keep my waist dart. This is magic tape, Scotch magic tape, the kind with the dole on one side, and I always use this tape for pattern making because I can write on it with pencil. So I'm going to close this back up and make sure that line is still perfectly aligned. And I want to close up my bust dart completely. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to my bust dart and close that up. And I like to make sure everything is looking all fly. Not bad. Okay. So now we have this opening to handle. I've got all these scraps here. So I'm going to slide this paper in here. And we're going to take this up. Now here's the thing about darts. They can be as short as you want, within reason, but they can't be as long as you want. You have to keep a 1/2 inch space away from your apex, or you will get comb bra look. If you want comb bra look, go ahead and make it look like that. But if you want a nice rounded curve over the bust, here's the apex, 1/2 inch away. That's going to be the maximum length for my center neck dart. Notice my waist dart starts all the way down here, okay? So you can pull it back. I'm going to pull mine back 1 inch. So that's going to be the start of my dart. And then the punch hole that marks the dart on my pattern piece in the fabric is going to be 1/2 inch away from that. So we're going to situate that in the center there. And that's going to be where my punch hole is. You're going to redraw your dart legs. There's the center. That's the end of the opening. Those are my new dart legs. There's my dart punch hole. There's my awl. If you want a video on tools, Mariah and I shot one together. It's in the garment construction playlist. I'll drop a link to that below in the description box. So there's my dart, there's my punch hole. There, you always circle it with the red so that your cutters remember to mark that. And let's deal with this excess. If you have a narrow dart, You can leave the excess and fold it and do it like that, like I did here. The waist dart is pretty small. Or you can actually add in a proper seam allowance. So let's put in a 1/2 inch seam allowance. 1/2 inch is pretty common. I know Kathleen loves a 3/8 seam allowance. Just make sure all of that stuff is really clear in your tech packs, okay? When you are folding darts or trying to figure out where to put your seam allowance, if you have a vertical dart, your seam allowance or dart excess should be pushed towards the side. And if you have a more horizontal dart, like your bust darts, then you want your excess to lay downward, okay? So we're gonna fold this dart right along the leg, the sew line, folding it towards the front so that the excess will go towards the side. Match up your sew lines beautifully. Make sure that's all connecting beautifully. Okay, that's what it's gonna look like when you close your dart. And you're gonna take your tracing wheel and you're gonna trace that line. Open it up, and you have your lines. So if you decide to keep all of this, this is what you need to cut so that everything lines up nicely when it's folded. So when your sample sewer, who does not see any sew lines, stitch lines, doesn't have those clues, she folds it, moves it to the side, and everything is flush, right? Nice and flush, the same length. Or you can take all this out, but you'll still get that effect because you shaped your dart hem. And then at this point, you add the seam allowance for the rest. Like necklines, because it's such a deep curve, are typically 1/4 inch. All right, and so forth and so forth. All right, let's do a princess seam. So as you can see, I started with my block with the waist and bust darts, and then I transferred it to a shoulder dart. And this is where you would start with either a shoulder or an armhole princess. But let's do an armhole princess because that one is harder. And I want to show you the harder one. Again, still using the fat, dull pencil so you can see. Figure out where you want your armhole seam to come from. So maybe I want it to come from about there. There's my apex. Now, there are a couple of things I want to do before I separate the pieces into center front and side front. First, I'm just going to put a little notch here so that when I separate them, that's where they used to meet up. It used to meet up here and it used to meet up here. And you might think that that's not a huge deal, but once we get into this tricky curve area, this might come in handy later on. And then I want to transfer the grain line because these grain lines should be parallel like this. So I want to mark that before I separate the papers. Again, I've only marked the sew lines here just for clarity of demo. So this is the waist dart. Much like how when we were doing the darts, we brought the lines to the apex before we started moving things around. I'm going to do this. And that's going to be your side front. And then here, that's going to be your center front. And we're going to close this dart. I'm going to cut in the middle here. This is my new sew line from my armhole princess. Goes right up to the apex. We're going to cut this just so we can close this dart. We don't need this dart anymore. We're moving it into the princess. So make sure it lines up there. Make sure it lines up down there. I know, I'm an over taper. That's my pattern making style. I like things extra secure. So this is my basic shape for my center front, and I want to add a little bit here. Okay, we're going to be adding seam allowance here, and we're going to add here so that we can have a nice curve. So we're going to tape some paper here. So I'm going to take my hip curve, and I'm going to draw a beautiful line. I want to keep this line from here to that notch I made earlier. And I don't want it to come out super far, because I don't want to move it too far from the apex. Now this one, first, we have to add ease. I know I shut the bust dart, but we have to open it again so we can add ease. We're gonna add ease here, and it's gonna be 1/2 inch of ease here, and we're gonna taper it to 0 at the side seam. Why do we add ease? Okay, this is gonna be eased into this, so it kind of like gives a little bit more room for the bust, kind of cups it. So we're gonna take that same bust line, add 1/2 inch just at the tip, and then it'll taper to 0 at the side seam. And you'll true this. And then we're going to create a nice beautiful curve here. We moved 5/16 out, so let's push back 5/16 in. So that's where I want the curve to sit. Remember, this is our original waist dart sew line, and I don't want to change this part. Now when we sew this seam, you're not going to spread the ease all the way through. You're just going to spread the ease around the bust. So on this, let's mark that's about where the ease is going to be spread, the fullness of the bust. So we should have notches here and here. Let's walk our seam. That's lined up. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but with dot paper, one of the great things is you can see right through it. If you can't, go ahead and use a light box, use a window on a sunny day, all those good things. Okay, I have a friend who has a glass table and she just sticks a lamp under it. Genius. Okay, so we start here, we walk it up, match up the lines, and then I can see the notch here, and so that's where we're gonna stop. Make sure that's lined up beautifully here and here. I'm gonna do this for the sake of the demo. You don't have to do this at home, but I'm gonna get rid of all these layers so you can see how I'm walking this pattern. So this is my sew line. So we're here, and we're here, and we're walking, walking, walking. And ta-da! We have about 3/8, 1/2 inch difference, which is good because we put it there. That's what you wanted. So again, here we walk up this direction, do, 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 do. And again, this is longer, about in between 3/8 to 1/2 inch, because we put that ease in there. Okay, so you're gonna, when you're sewing, you're gonna match up your notches when you're sewing like this, and you're going to ease in that nice boob cupping sort of action right in there. And of course, you're going to add seam allowance to everything. You're gonna make sure everything is beautiful and labeled, okay? This is your side front piece, this is your center front piece. Questions, drop them in the comment section below. Share, subscribe. Do give me a thumbs up if you learned something new today. As usual, hashtag always be practicing, hashtag practice not magic, hashtag if your first one sucks, you're right on track. Don't forget to visit zoehong.com for all my links, sign up for a newsletter, find out all about my shenanigans, and I will see you in the next video.